Hey everybody, welcome back to the Purple Rock. I'm John and Andy. We finally made the merge. People are not going to be ashamed to date us now.
Finally. Merges. This is always so exciting. It's usually the highlight of the season. The flip side is often the episodes after the merge are some of the most boring episodes of Survivor all season.
They do tend to get predictable from time to time, but it's kind of like our playoffs now. We're in the playoffs of Survivor.
That's right. Single eliminate. Wait, no.
Not so single. So let's get to tonight's episode. First of all, Tina kicks off the night with a fairly memorable moment. She just lays it out there for Monica. Hey, Monica, you're my number 5.
Yeah, that was just a head-slapping, record-scratching moment for me. I was just like, what? Did you just do that? And here's a little podcasting, little secret. While I watch, I actually take a few notes so that I have something to talk about. And immediately, even before Monica responds, I'm already writing, we have to take back all the nice things we said about Tina this season.
Yeah, I do have to rescind some of the praise, I guess. I mean, that was pretty bad. Well, to an extent, it was pretty bad. We'll actually go into some more detail about that discussion later, but not the wisest of moves for Tina there.
No, I mean, this was basically Alex and Samoa telling Rob C., hey, I'm going to vote you out at Final Four because I'm sticking with the girls. It's like, you never tell somebody that they are not as important to you as they think they are to you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess she could have potentially gotten away with it if... No, she couldn't have. I'm sorry, it was a bad move.
Well, like, the way you could damage control, and especially if Vetus wanted to do this damage control, is the next day you pull Monica inside. It's like, yeah, I said, we pretend that you're 5 and I'm going to be with those 2. That's just to placate you. Really, you're in my final 3. But the thing about it is it was just completely unprompted. Like, Tina was just like, hey, we're the good people, and Monica, you deserve to know where you place. And in fact, you should feel so good about yourself because up until an hour ago, we had you pegged at 6. Just terrible. And it kind of, like I said, it makes me feel like we should take back some of the nice things we said about Tina because we've been singing her praise for a couple weeks now. And I'm starting to feel like a lot of it was just what Stephen Fishbach likes to call fan fiction. We were inventing things for Tina. We were assuming she was the smooth operator behind the scenes, extrapolating from a few interviews and a few moves here. And maybe she just wasn't.
Well, we don't know exactly, because we only get an edited version, obviously. So we don't know if it was totally unprompted that she said that. But at the same time, regardless of the context, still not the brightest move. Unless, like you said, she went and mitigated the damage later on by pulling Tina aside and saying, that was just for show. You're in good with us.
No. But given the way Monica reacts to the rest of the episode, I don't think that conversation took place.
It definitely did not.
So, yeah, that was just an epic blunder, probably worse than Tina forgetting, her objective in a swimming challenge. And kind of set the table for the rest of the episode. And almost in that 1 minute where you see Tina do that, right there I was like, all right, I know how this episode's going to go. Everything we predicted last week, especially I predicted last week, was going to happen.
Yeah, you could just see all the dominoes falling into place there.
Yeah, and we can talk about this a bit more later. It might have not have been the entire reason why Monica flipped over, but it didn't help.
And we'll eventually see later on in this episode that it doesn't matter that Monica flips over. The numbers would have been fine either way. But, yeah, she's definitely not going to help Tina scramble at this point.
Nope. So, that was an interesting moment. Classic Survivor, sitting around, night vision fire, and real strategizing. And then, of course, we had to ruin all that fun stuff by going back to Redemption Island.
At least we didn't linger there for 20-plus minutes like we did last time.
Yeah, because, you're not going to do that. Merge episodes, just way too much business to take care of. This is the heart of the season. But also because this particular challenge was pretty much a foregone conclusion from the time they showed the previews last week.
Yeah, you could almost see John's head hanging as soon as he saw the...
Not even almost. We literally saw it. Like, his total reaction and a smile. And he's done interviews since just when he saw it and was like, oh, man, you're going to play me like that? Like, he knew he had no chance, and he didn't. And, the obvious happened. Which brings to kind of the big question, or one of the big questions of this week, was this fair?
Absolutely. It's part of the game. You never know what challenge you're going to get, and I do think there's sometimes where the producers have to change challenges based on weather conditions or whatever it might be. There's also probably some times where they maybe schedule some challenges that might or might not benefit certain players. But I have a feeling this was the last Redemption Island challenge. It was going to happen no matter who was in there.
Yeah, this is kind of freaky. That's exactly my position, and I was expecting you to take the other one. Yeah, they had this one planned. They have it in their contract that, yes, they can change challenges if they need to, because you never know what is going to happen that will force them to change. Like you say, weather.
Yeah, you maybe have some crazy waves going, so you can't do a water challenge that day.
Yeah, or a swap leads to suddenly all the men on one side, all the women on the other side. Now you can't do, a challenge that requires man versus man, woman versus woman battles. And I think, look, I'm not Pollyanna about this stuff. The producers probably do sometimes move things around to help a certain competitor to keep the drama going. But in this,
Ozzy.
Yeah, Abby Maria a couple of years ago. But this one I think was set in stone because the whole Redemption Island setup with a 3-person duel was always set up so that the tension was on the final elimination. So the winner, does well, and then they're gone. It doesn't even matter. The drama is on who's not going to lose. But for returning back to the game, you have to reverse that dynamic. So you need to come up with a challenge there where the winner is the last person standing. So they didn't know that it was going to be Laura M versus, a weaker Laura B and a top-heavy Mike.
It was John, by the way, not Mike.
Mike, I keep thinking of Marine Mike from Redemption Island.
It's because they're both so pretty, that's why.
Well, they're both former Marines, for one thing. They're both guys who competed well on Redemption Island. So they're the same guy to me. But, yeah, John...
Actually, just to correct you once again, John, I believe, was Army, not Marines.
Oh, yeah. See, where I come from, we all just call them the armed services, and we've merged the branches together.
They're just the Mounties up there, isn't that it? You just have a bunch of guys riding moose around?
Not really a bunch of guys. I think it's just that Dudley Do-Right guy.
Oh. Pretty weak army, I gotta say.
Well, there's a way of foreign diplomacy that just involves not having the whole world want to attack you.
This is not a road we want to travel down on our podcast.
No. Oh, this has just gotten deep. And now you get to talk trash about mayors up here, and the whole thing goes that way. But yeah, it's not hard to imagine a scenario where the 3 people competing up on those logs were John, Brad, and Hayden. Then there's no real big advantage for one or the other. Or conversely, it could have been the 2 Lauras and Kat. Like, that almost happened.
Right. There was nothing unfair about the challenge. It was obviously going to have to be one of those endurance-type challenges, just because Probst loves to do those who wants it the most type challenges, and this is the perfect opportunity to bust one of those out.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. Everybody's whining like, oh, this one so obviously favored a smaller woman. Are these people whining all that much for the majority of challenges that favor athletic, strong men? Just kind of the way it goes. But ultimately how it breaks down for me is I don't care because I don't care who comes back from Redemption Island.
Well, speaking of that, we actually have a voicemail this week, and it's from our friend Emrat Fink. I'll play it now.
Hey guys, it's Emrat Fink. My question is this. How would you feel if someone comes back from Redemption Island next week, as will happen, and they don't get voted out immediately, and they have a very good post-merge game and end up in the final 3? Would you feel that person is undeserving, or how would that validate or invalidate Redemption Island?
So yeah, that's a good question. What do you think, John?
Well, now we know the answer. He actually asked this before we knew that Laura M was the winner. But if she did go on to the Final 4 or Final 3, whatever it might be.
Without going back to Redemption Island for a second time.
Right, yeah, assuming that she doesn't go back. I still don't feel like it's legitimate. Just having gone to Redemption Island and then going on to win just seems like you need an asterisk next to your victory.
Yeah, I'd say it's a smaller asterisk. Like, you played the whole entire second half, and you kind of accept, okay, sure, Redemption Island is part of it. Because, the argument is you were voted out. But I guess you could say the same thing for people who play Idols. But, like, when you're ranking most deserving winners, anybody who came back would rank near the end. Because, like, you shouldn't still be part of the game. But it wouldn't be as illegitimate as somebody who comes back this next time. And, is plopped right down there in the final 5, didn't eliminate maybe anybody that's currently on the jury box. Like, if those people win, and I'd argue that person always has the best chance to win, then they've broken Survivor.
Right, so you're saying if Aris makes it back, regardless of if he wins or not, that's just not a legitimate win.
Correct.
Agreed.
So, but yes, if Laura comes back and, plays the rest of the game, does the masterminding and the hardest part of it, I'd give her a grudging respect. Like, okay, you did all right. But, you still know you kind of lost, right?
Right. To me, it's not quite as bad as if Lil had won in Pearl Islands, but it's really close.
Mm-hmm. Now, I guess it also helps that, she's not Lil. I mean, if Lil had never been voted out and she won, we would have been like, what the heck happened there?
Yeah, we would have pronounced the game flawed if that had happened.
Yeah, actually, would we have felt the same way if Burton would have won?
It's a good question.
Yeah, hard to say. Because we were different kind of Survivor watchers back then, too. But
that is true.
Yeah, so, no, it's a good question by MRAT. And my answer is yes, kind of, but not completely.
I think I'm more of a yes, it's illegitimate than you are. I'm a little more firm in my belief on that.
Mm-hmm.
So, speaking of Laura M., though, let's talk about some idol action, because after she got brought back into the game, Probst said, hey, give that clue to whoever you want, including yourself now, because you're back in the game. And she joins the fray and drops it into the fire. Is that the right move?
So I'm of two minds here. It's easy for us to sit back and say, what are these people doing? You need that idol clue, but they're there. They've taken the temperature. They kind of know where people are sitting and their feelings towards idols. So if everybody there feels like having an idol clue is just the kiss of death, then they're probably right. And from that respect, yeah, keep throwing it in the fire. My other feeling, though, is the exception is Laura M. Could she be a bigger target than she already was coming back from Redemption Island?
Yeah, I kind of had the exact same thought here, that you want the immunity idol because you're coming back from Redemption Island, and you're probably going to get targeted early. She's not going to know how the alliances have broken out at this point and whether she could still potentially have an alliance to go to. But I think it is the right move for her because, again, like you said, there's just this climate out there that having that clue would make you a target. So if she's not already a target, she would have been one even more so if she'd read the clue. So, yeah, it's the right move to toss it in the fire.
See, just my other thinking is, here's the other move, is that you take the clue, because at this point the clue is not going to be a clue anymore. We're 7 weeks in, or 8 weeks in. It's going to be, this is the idol right here, turn, face this way, go 10 paces, uncover this color of leaves. So if you got the clue, you're finding the idol.
Assuming it hasn't already been found.
Yeah, and that's actually the big risk, because that's the thing. Getting an idol clue and getting an idol are two very different beasts. And if you're going to be treated like you have an idol, even if you only have a clue, then you better damn well get that idol. But yes, if she could get the idol, even though everybody knows she has it, the move is to put it around your neck and say, look, everybody, I have an idol because I know that the person in my spot is traditionally a target. I'm playing it tonight, just treating it like she won immunity, and then hopefully then frees her up to discuss with people. They no longer have the option of just having the easy vote off of Laura. And here's the thing. She can't do the thing like Malcolm where she says she's going to play it and not play it. She has to play it, that tribal council.
Absolutely, because if she holds on to it, then
now
she's a target again next time.
And more importantly, her daughter's a target.
That too, if they can't go after you, they'll go for
Yeah, because idols don't give you the same level of protection in today's age of bigger alliances and vote splitting than they used to. They're like, okay, you can be immune this time. I'll just take out your main ally, and then we'll take out you next time.
Yeah, the blood versus water twist does add another wrinkle to this.
But yes, so while Laura M. decided to opt out of Idol, Tyson did not.
Yeah, Tyson actually did what I had hypothesized that Vytas would be doing.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I thought that, I said much earlier in the season that I thought this would be Vytas' move, and then I said later on that Tyson would probably end up doing this because he had mentioned very early on that he knew it had to be something that you could see from both camps because it was the same clue to either side. Eventually he pieced it together. He mentioned on Twitter that obviously the version that we got was very edited. He said he'd spent about 3 to 4 hours total searching around that specific site before he finally found it.
Yeah, and I think, one of the questions is why now? Why did it take him so long? I think the chaos of the merge gave him the cloud cover he needed to go looking.
Or he just had some fantastic case of diarrhea from drinking everybody's coconuts.
Yeah, or Merge Feast, right? That's the obvious, oh man, the fried pork or whatever they were having, I gotta go. But yeah, so Tyson has the idol in the exact perfect way you want to have an idol. Nobody thinks that you have it. They have no reason to suspect. You've never seen a clue. They've never seen you looking for it. I was a little concerned when he went. It's like, dude, don't wear your tight underwear when you're going on an idol hunt. But, he wrapped it up in his buff. And now the guy who would normally be the biggest target has some protection to fly with.
So see, you actually got into one of my other questions. Is that the right move to not tell everybody that he has it?
For right now. He doesn't seem to need it to build an alliance. I mean, if he had at some point, if it didn't seem like people were going to go the way this episode went, then sure, you can use it there. But it looks like he's already has a social game to the point where he doesn't need it for team building. He did talk in the interview that he'd be willing to do that, and that's a great thing to hear. But he doesn't need to become more of a target. So don't let people know that he has it. If he never has to play it, that's great.
I'm so disappointed you didn't take the bait. I agreed with you 100% there. That was basically my opinion on it as well. Really, if having the idol clue makes you a target, then anybody knowing that you have the idol would make you a target, especially after he basically makes himself the ringleader after this episode.
Yeah, because, the way it shaped up and the way that the storytelling had been going so far is Jervis was his number 2. But it's not hard to envision a world where Jervis finding out that he has an idol is like, you know what, I'm just going to go back to ours.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different things that could break in a bad way if someone finds out that he has the idol. So I think the play, especially for now, is to keep the knowledge of it from everybody else.
And what's helpful is that people are assuming that nobody has an idol. So I don't think there'll be a lot of rooting through bags to try and find out what's going on. There's just this public display of, I'm getting rid of this clue, I don't want any part of the idol, that I think people have gotten a little complacent.
Yeah, Laura M., though, actually did bring up the potential for somebody having an idol, but I think that's just because she's having some PTSD from her season with Russell Hantz.
Yeah, and she's probably had, some alone time on the island to just overthink things. But definitely the Russell seed, I guess, was planted.
Right.
Forget that guy. Almost didn't say the right thing in a family podcast.
Luckily, we have a beep button handy in case you do happen to slip.
So yeah, Tyson finds the idol, gives another great Tyson interview about it, and then we see another segment of people talking about their place in the game and commenting.
Yeah, speaking of great interviews, the Boskowskis, if I'm pronouncing that right, the brothers,
sure.
They each have a confessional that basically amounts to, I'm running this game right now.
They should call this Aris versus Vetus.
And these guys have seen previous seasons of Survivor. Note to any listeners out there, if you're ever actually applying for the show, if you go on the show, make all of your confessionals say, I am definitely not running this game. I am clearly in need of some help. I am not the power player or the leader. Just stick with those for confessionals, because as soon as you say otherwise, that's the segment that they edit into the episode that you get voted out.
Yeah, the producers are going for it, and I think there just becomes an addiction almost for the contestants. They can feel what the producers want, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to give it to them because this is exciting, and the guy behind the camera is laughing. But no, it's the kiss of death. Unless, everybody just gives that and they only show it, but it's like, just don't give it to you. You'll get voted out either way. I'm not a believer that some kind of voodoo is going to take you out, but at least you'll look a little less stupid when it happens.
See, that might be another good tip-off. If the producers are goading you into saying that you're in control of this game, that's the time to search for an immunity idol.
Yeah, and then the correlator is when looking for an immunity idol, if the cameras are following you, you're on the right track. And if they decide, we're going to go film this thing over here, you're looking the wrong spot. But yeah, when I was watching that scene of them two just smugging it up, I'm like, we're watching the next two boots here, right?
Well, we'll get to that later. We're definitely at least watching the next boot there.
Well, and it was one or the other, right? Because obviously immunity comes into play. But yeah, Vetus is the smuggest person on the show, which is saying a lot because this is a show that features Tyson.
Tyson does not lack for confidence. He never has.
No, but, he's taken it down a notch, which is just more praise for him. In previous seasons, he would not have had the patience that he exhibited with Monica. as evidenced by the way he treated, Sierra 1 and Aaron and Tocantins. So he's learned to turn down the smug, and Vitas is going to have to learn that too.
Unfortunately, he can just ramp it back up when he gets his confessionals. Tyson off to the side versus Tyson in front of his tribe is a different person.
And bravo, go ahead and do that. I love smug confessionals.
I love them too.
One of my favorite player of all time is Boston Rob, okay, which I know makes me totally unoriginal, but I don't care. Yeah, but when the season he won, he was straight up with people. He was taking Philip aside and saying, I'm with you. Everybody thought that, unlike Tina, that they were with Boston Rob. And then he gives a confessional where he laughs about Grant being stupid and throws a clue in the volcano. Like, that's what you do.
Yeah, if you're going to make fun of people, Tyson, you need to go do it in a confessional, not to their face.
And it's not like Vitas was just throwing it in people's face, but clearly, more than just confessionals, he was overconfident.
He was. And we'll see if it ends up coming back to bite him. It certainly got to Aris already, though.
Yeah, so on that subject, we've been talking about it because, they've been previewing it, and kudos to the producers. They weren't just spitting something out of nothing. It was, I think, a pretty good mini narrative that they told here. Was it the right move to take out Aris tonight?
I guess so. It still felt a little early, but after seeing how the various alliances were going to break down, you almost have to go that direction. If you're going to do it either on this vote or the next. So it made sense.
Yeah, a lot of my criticisms before that, which led to some, ridiculous predictions about Tyson, were because he was trying to do it last episode or 2 episodes ago while they were still, a tribe. But yeah, it's the merge now. He already had Monica come to him and give him some key information and let him know that now he's got 7 people. And most importantly, he has an idol in his pocket. So the big fear for me was, okay, you take out Aris. Well, now what happens with you, Tyson?
Well, and this is my big fear as well, because as you know, I'm a big fan of Tyson. So seeing Tyson as a ringleader and strategizing to take out Aris makes me fearful, because Tyson in this position before has not handled his power very well.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think what I saw with Monica really helped. So yeah, I was against it before, but the way that this episode broke down, take out your big threat on the other side, and that's either Aris or Vitas. Vitas wins immunity, so it's time to do Aris.
Hey, speaking of big threats, let's do some power rankings.
All right, so how we're going to do this is we each have our own top 5, and we'll break it down 5 through 1. But if one of us has the person that's being discussed later on their list, we'll wait to discuss them there. And that probably makes no sense the way I'm saying it now, but it'll make sense as we go through.
Basically, what you're saying is that we're going to wait until number 1 to discuss Sierra, because that's where you have her.
She's been there since the beginning of the season. Why stop now? But so I'll go first. And at my number 5, I have Vitas.
I have Vitas much higher on my list than you do.
All right, so we'll discuss them at that point. Who's your number 5?
I have Monica.
And Monica's not on my list, so now's a good time to talk about her, because I don't think we've done that at all this season.
With good reason. Monica, despite endearing herself to me on Twitter by joking with Tyson about the harassing that she was doing of him on this episode, she panicked despite being in a relatively good place. Assuming that they could have gotten the numbers up to 6, being in a number 5 with 2 couples guarantees you the final 3, which is what you want to get to. And then if you're going to the final 3 with a couple, the couple could split their votes and you could win despite being a total goat.
Yeah, see, I think that's probably maybe what she was originally thinking when she thought she was each couple's number 3. But she sat there and somebody said to her face, "You're number 5, and actually you were number 6. So I kind of feel like the goalposts have been moving on Monica in terms of fan reaction. Probably just because we don't like her. She doesn't move the needle for us. But just a week ago, I think everybody was like, what's Monica's play? She's not going to win. She's just a goat.
And she is a goat.
Yeah, but, a week ago you could have said, Monica's in a great position. She's teamed up with 2 couples. She gets to split the middle and go up to there. So this week, she's told that she's number 5. And people are all like, Monica's dumb. She's happy that she's number 5. She could split the difference and all that. So I don't know if there's any winning. I mean, come on. She was the least qualified person to be on this cast. She was voted out pre-merge. They wanted, her grandstanding husband.
I did put in the caveat with Monica that it would have been the right move to stick with Tina as the quote-unquote number 5 if they had a 6 to get through this vote and this vote only.
Yeah, and they didn't. So that's the thing. People are like, she should have just stuck with it. And why? They were losing. The other side has 6. That side had 5. Monica did the right thing by joining those 6 and becoming 7 rather than, trying to save Aris. I mean, that doesn't help her. I'd say the one thing we can say that 5, most likely, she would become 3, right? But maybe not. Tina seems so, excited about playing this a certain way, and from the previews next week, it seems like she gets hellfire and brimstone-y. Maybe they would have dumbly voted her out. Or maybe Jervis wins immunity at final 6, and suddenly Monica's not number 5.
That is a good point.
And the last thing is, maybe it's not on the couple's agenda to go to the final 3 with their loved one. Maybe Tina and Katie are like, one of us will go to the final 3 with those Boskauskas brothers. The other one of us will be on the jury, and I'll be the one that splits the difference. So if it was Monica's plan to be number 5, and there's a chance maybe it was for a bit of there, that's one thing. But, them sitting there telling you, you're number 5, and congratulations, you just moved up from number 6, and you should feel really good about it. If somebody said that to me when I was playing, I would have done the same thing. The next confessional would be like, screw you guys, you're going down.
Well, I think every plan has risks, and this move to me feels almost like Cochran's move in South Pacific, where he flipped out of a bad situation into a pretty much equally bad situation. She's still a GOAT in her new alliance, and now she doesn't really know where she ranks as a GOAT, despite what Tyson might be telling her at the moment.
Okay, so we're saying, all the reasons why it may or may not have been a bad move, but explain to me why you put her number 5 then.
GOAT potential. And I just refused on principle to include Sierra in my list.
One thing I say, on last point on Monica, even though you just fed me a great transition there, is what happened? So we all think that she could have been in the final 3 with those 2 other couples. Well, what she kind of did this episode was search for another 3. In Tyson and Jervis, and in doing so found out that those other 2 the other 2 couples were doomed. She might be in a final 3 situation with Jervis and Tyson, because sure, Jervis and Tyson had that alliance with Caleb, Hayden, and Sierra, but what's the problem with that one?
Well, if you're a GOAT, the ideal final 3 for you is a pair plus you, because you're hoping that pair ends up splitting some votes.
Yeah, people often forget that you don't need a majority of votes. You just need a plurality.
Oh, you're using your big fancy words.
That's right, math. So if it's 7 members, you only need 3 votes if the other 2 people split it 2.
You should repeat this 4 or 5 times in case Brad is listening.
That's right. So 3 and 4 is in, and...
Speaking of 4, who do you have at number 4?
Number 4, I have Sierra.
And I don't have Sierra on my list, as I said.
I've been obviously her big cheerleader for purely selfish reasons, and then I randomly picked her to win, and I have her in a competition that I'm doing very well at the moment. Thank you very much. In fact, I'm also in another Survivor pool, and first place.
So am I, by the way. I'm dominating that pool.
Nice. But yes, basically what we saw tonight was 4 people speak. 4 people were given, well, I guess 4 plus, the edit, the arrogance edit of the Boskauskas brothers. But of the people who voted the right way, that voted to take out ours, we had 4 narrators. We had Jervis, we had Tyson, we had Hayden, and Sierra. And I think just that edit alone tells you that these are probably the 4 featured characters going forward.
I will say, grudgingly, that Sierra seemed to catch a mild case of competency last night. I don't know how it happened. I haven't seen any other evidence that it might have been happening this season. So maybe it was just one of those 24-hour bugs and it'll go away and she'll be right back to being the same old Sierra next episode. But if nothing else, she did know to tell her mom to calm the F down and stop worrying about idols. It wasn't an amazing move or anything, but she was more competent than I've generally given her credit for this season.
Well, obviously you've just been refusing to give her credit because there's been other moments. She's been allowed to talk. She's been allowed to explain strategy. She's been allowed to narrate. Even something as minor as when they were going to vote out Rachel. Instead of Katie and herself just throwing away their vote against each other, they decided, you know what, let's just vote John just in case an idol is played and we don't let it bounce back to us. So I think Sierra has shown, as much as they allow her to show, some level of understanding. This is a social game and there's different, ways to play it. I guess my question to you and maybe everybody out there that, it's bagging on Sierra at my expense is, what would you have her do? She's obviously not going to be a dominant challenge threat. And given that this is a game that's been won not once but twice by Sandra, who's never won a challenge, I don't understand why that matters. Sure, her tribe should have gotten rid of her, but they didn't, which I think is another vote on her side. I mean, she's doing the only thing that a person in her situation could do. She's playing a social game, she's staying under the radar, and she's not going anywhere anytime soon.
First of all, I like that you give credit to someone for being able to be allowed to talk. You know who got a lot of airtime and got to talk a lot? Brandon Hantz.
Oh.
Philip.
Yeah, obviously those are a little different, right? Like, they were cast to talk in the crazy ways that they were doing. Normally a player who, is seemingly as useless as Sierra would not be getting narrator time.
If Sierra had the same sort of sassy flair that Sandra has, maybe I'd be on board Team Sierra. If she even just verbalized that she was going with the anybody but me strategy that Sandra's deployed twice, maybe then I'd give her some credit. To me, she's gotten that Cowboy Rick, I am existing, and I'm fun to have in the background edit.
See, I think you're confusing Sierra with Caleb, is he still on the show?
I would take more offense to that, but I've so given up on the Caleb pick. He really has gone full Cowboy Rick.
All right, so who's your number 4?
I have Hayden at that spot. I don't have a strong case for Hayden other than the fact that he's, by default, he's going to beat someone like a Caleb. I don't see Katie sticking around. I don't have a ringing endorsement for Hayden. I just barely ranked him ahead of Goat Monica.
Okay, so yeah, Hayden's my number 3. And hey, coincidentally is my other player in our little fantasy game. But it's basically kind of similar reasons to Sierra. He was one of the 4 people that was given time to talk. And in fact, throughout the season, he's gotten a lot of narrator time. He's been a go-to person that the show has used to describe what's happening at the moment. And what he said is mostly perfunctory. It's not like he's such a star entertaining-wise that they'd have to show what he's saying. He's not a Cochran, he's not a Vetus, he's not a coach, or even a Phillip. So he's giving them what they need. He's explaining the action, and it's not just from his own perspective. But it's not so super entertaining that you're like, oh yeah, they had to show that. So that just leads me to the next question. Why are they showing that? And I think the answer might be because he's going to go far in this game.
He may go far. I don't think he has a shot at winning.
Well, I mean, here's the shot. We've been predicting for a few weeks now that Tyson will eventually get hoisted on his own petard through his actions. If those other people start eating themselves, it's not hard to envision a guy like Hayden moving up through the middle. And maybe that would justify why he gets so much narrator time.
I still don't see it. I have him at 4 only because I see him as a slightly more likely to make the final 3 GOAT than Monica, just based on potential for winning immunity. And a slightly less likely GOAT than Jervis, who I have at number 3.
Yeah, so I think what I'm hearing here is you only believe like 2 people are going to have a shot at winning this.
I think you're reading that pretty well, and we're getting down in our options here, so take a wild guess as to who I have left.
Yeah, well, first we'll discuss Jervis, because he's my number 2. I was actually, fairly impressed with Jervis tonight. I mean, for the first thing is he was willing to pull the trigger. He talked about it, but until it actually happens, it's hard to say. By all indications, he and Aris are friends, not just from this time on the island, but from outside. So the Jervis that we laughed at in the preview episode and was like, haha, does he even know how to play Survivor? Is demonstrating that, yeah, he kind of does, and he came here to do it. And his quote that he gave in his at Tribal Council, when Jeff was asking, is this going to be a shocking thing? He was like, for the smart player, no. That was an all-time quote for me. I almost stood up and applauded. Like, yeah, Jervis, that's fantastic, because he knew what was happening.
He certainly has improved from his first season, but that's a pretty low bar.
I think everybody likes Jervis.
I agree. And I was going to say that I will give him some credit because he's not a total GOAT, only because he's a charming enough guy that people seem to like him. So he's not an ideal person to bring with you to the end. I think if you bring him there as your GOAT, it might end up biting you.
I'm not sure anybody left in the game could beat Jervis in front of a jury.
Oh, I beg to differ, Andy.
Well, we'll talk about that, but we've been shown time and time again, one of the biggest things that will get people to vote for you is if they like you. And everybody likes Jervis. And you see that, and this is, I guess outside of the game, but everybody loves him on Twitter, too. You see.
Yeah, Andy, before you even try this argument any further, I have 2 words for you. Amanda Kimmel.
Do you think Jervis is going to pull an Amanda Kimmel?
I can see some potential for it, yeah.
All right, well, time will tell. All right, so obviously your number 2 is either Vitas or someone else. And because we discussed this earlier, I know it's Vitas, so go.
How did you know? Yeah, I actually, I've said all season long, I don't think Vitas wins. I think we're getting the edit of Vitas that we're getting because they want to bring him back at some point, and probably some point very soon. But I will say that he seems like he's in a bad situation now, but we keep getting confessionals from him and just reading between the lines on some of the stuff that he says on Twitter. He's clearly researched how to play the game. I think he still has a shot. It's an outside chance, but I don't see too many other people with a chance to win. Like we just mentioned, maybe Jervis. I don't think anybody else we've mentioned so far wins. I think if you get Vitas into a Final 3 somehow, he might win.
Yeah, so I had Vitas at number 5, and it's almost paradoxical because we're going to do predictions coming up, and I think he's going home next week. I think he's the most likely person to be voted out next. So why do I have him at number 5? It's because there's this fun little thing called Redemption Island, and I think this is the final story that they've been setting up. So, the underlying story has been the Bukauskas brothers and their rivalry. And when, you had predicted that it was going to come to a head with, Aris voting out Vitas, obviously that is not going to happen. I think the final story of that tale is they go to Redemption Island together, and for the next half of the season, those two dispatch whatever the third person is. And they finish 1 and 2 in these challenges until whatever. Until the final, you play back to go in, and that's where Vitas finally wins over the Golden Boy Aris and comes back into the game. And once he comes back into the game, he's now the best chance to win. Whoever comes back from Redemption Island without having to have voted anybody else, with most likely having all of their allies already on the jury, would win in front of a jury. We all think it's illegitimate. We think it's stupid. That nobody who's played that way should be able to win. But here's the thing. Everybody on that jury, except for maybe 1 or 2 people who voted at the end, was on Redemption Island. And every one of those people thought that they weren't illegitimate and they still had a chance to win this game. So it's not going to be an issue for them. So if he comes back and could face a jury, wins a couple more immunities, then he wins the Survivor, and we hate it.
Well, and the other reason that I have him at number 2 is that if he does make a Final 3, I'm assuming that Aris, Tina, and Katie will not be part of that Final 3.
That's 3 votes right there.
There you go. And he likely only needs 1 more after that, depending on how the votes break down.
But I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, he would have to win, basically, win out. He'd have to go on a Terry Dietz run, and even that didn't work out the last time a Bukauskas brother was involved. So,
Andy, who does that leave as number 1?
Caleb?
We must have drastically different lists then.
No, obviously. I've been laying out all this time of why Tyson couldn't win, why these plans aren't going to work. After tonight, Tyson is number 1 with a bullet, and it's all coming together to the point where I think you've already gone there that this is John Cochran last season, that there's no other conceivable winner amongst this group.
It feels that way, which scares me even more, just because, again, with the history of Tyson, you never feel entirely confident. I feel like a Red Sox fan before they won their first title in 80 whatever years. It just feels like something has to go wrong before we get to the finish line here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as confident as you appear to be. I think actually any one of the people I just mentioned in number 5 has a non-zero chance of winning. Because I understand that flying under the radar is a perfectly legitimate strategy in Survivor and is proven effective. And there's been many winners that at this point in the game we had no conception that they would become winners. And that could happen again, but if we're talking right now, who's in the best position, it's Tyson, and it's not close. He has done his power move fairly easily. He has an immunity idol that nobody knows he has. And he's been getting the most time on air.
Yeah, I don't read too much into the most time on air thing, but he certainly has all the key ingredients of a potential victory. The question is, does it actually come together for him? This is really just power rankings of right now, how we could see their game ending. That's the only reason I have him at number 1. I am so hesitant to keep him there just because I feel like I'm jinxing him. But he really does have the pole position right now. It's hard to argue against it.
No, I mean, the big problem would be that often people who suddenly find themselves in pole position do stupid things from overconfidence.
Right, so let's get into some historical discussion, our bread and butter in this podcast. In honor of the merge this week, we decided to go with most memorable merges. Andy, what was your most memorable merge that we've had so far?
I think this question was in the can from the moment we decided to do historical discussions. And it's easy. I mean, if we look through the list of every season, we could probably, with maybe 1 or 2 exceptions, tell you what happened the merge episode, because it's always memorable. This is basically when the second half of Survivor is laid out. And I would say probably my favorite merge was Cook Islands. It's when the scrappy little group of 4, of Yule, Sundra, Becky, and Ozzy, merged with the bigger tribe of mostly unlikable people. But Yule turned that situation around because he had the most powerful idol in the history of the game. Or, tied, because Terry had the same idol, but he never had to use it. But it's instructive. As powerful as it is, Terry never was able to do anything good with it. Yule turned the entire game around by having a calm, rational game talk with Jonathan Penner. And it's probably not surprising you, given that I'm a dork who talks about strategy on a podcast. I ate that stuff up. It was delicious.
Oh, so did I. I gave Yule so much credit for that move. And Penner, too, because Penner correctly figured out that, okay, this is a very powerful tool in this guy's hands. If I'm not on his side, things could end poorly for me. He tried to tell this to his dummy white people friends. That was Survivor Race Wars, as our friend Emma calls it. So he had originally come from the white tribe, and they just...
And it was mostly a white tribe again. Like, they came into the merge intact.
Yeah, and he tried to tell...
Oh, no, they had lost the alternative girl with white person dreads.
Yeah, sure. Her.
Jessica? Anyway, to continue on.
Yeah. So he tries to tell them, hey guys, trust me, we're in trouble here if we don't flip, and they just totally don't get it. They call him traitor, backstabber, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and what's also delicious about this is it was a beautiful strategic move. It helped set the tone for one of my favorite victories in the history of the show. But it was also very satisfying just on an emotional level. And yes, I'm somebody who's always talking about strategy and can think of reasons why people I don't even like are valid winners and, the things they need to do to move in the game. But seeing that table reversal of this tribe of just horrible young bullies was fantastic. It was an exciting, cheering moment of the underdog winning and
Whitey getting what was coming to him.
Well, to a degree, because the person who actually left that night was Nate, the final member of the penultimate member of the African American tribe. But yes, it was just fantastic, and was a hard one to top, although it kind of did later.
You're such a big emotional softie.
Only when it comes to Yule.
Hey, I can't talk in that category since I have Tyson. So, my pick for this, I don't see how you could go any other way than heroes versus villains.
Mm-hmm.
At the merge, we have Parvati's double idol play. We had the episode. Was the episode before that Russell had gotten
Right before,
Yeah, Russell had gotten the idol passed to him from JT with an adorable little love letter. Hey, buddy Russell, I hope you can use this and keep those mean girls from taking you out of the game. And Russell and Parvati just sitting there giggling about how lucky they were that this happened. They get to the merge. Parvati plays 2 idols, one on Sandra, one on Jerry. It actually works out. I forget who they actually threw the votes at, but
JT.
What's that?
JT voted. The heroes. They actually voted for Jerry,
and it worked out for Parvati's team because Jerry was immune. Heroes go home, and then the villains continue to march right over the heroes' tribe.
Yeah, that probably was the greatest merge episode of all time. I go with Cook Island just as a personal favorite because it's much easier to get excited about a merge that helped, Yule and his scrappy band of outcasts win rather than the one that helped Russell Hantz make the finals again. But no, Parvati's move was just fantastic. One of these days we're going to have a talk about greatest tribal councils, and the answer is that, or at the very least it's in the top 2.
Right. We're going to be picking a 1B at best.
Yes. I'd say maybe one little knock on it, if we're, picking nits on fantastic things, is Russell was just terrible at his one mission, which was convincing the other side that he was with them, with his lies. And that kind of gets to the heart of Russell Hantz. As much as people love to give him credit about being this amazing player, people just don't like him, and it doesn't take long to be around him to tell, this guy's skeevy. And the heroes did. They were like, oh, JT, I don't think he's with us. And JT at that point was so committed, he's like, no, he really is. So that led to actually another great moment when Amanda has to go to Parvati to try and convince Parvati to play the idol. And it's just another fantastic Amanda Kimmel completely unable to talk people into doing what she wants moment.
Yeah, Amanda does not excel in those situations.
She's just too damn nice. She can't lie. She can't talk about herself that way. Yeah, we should be a little fair to Amanda. I think she was the oldest she's ever been on Survivor is 24. But yeah, no, that's a fantastic episode and the turning point of one of the greatest seasons of Survivor. Quickly, just a couple other memorable merges. Philippines is when Jonathan Penner was able to play an idol and save himself. So he's factors into 2 great merges.
I'd go with South Pacific in this one, too. That was my backup, just because that was where Cochran ended up flipping from Ozzy's tribe. Didn't end up helping his game at all, but it definitely did help them pagong Ozzy's old tribe.
Yeah, and that was just satisfying because those pricks had it coming.
They really did.
Yeah, so, look, it didn't help Cochran, but, it didn't really hurt him. He was the same spot. Maybe he moved up 3 days, and he got cast on the show a second time, possibly as a result of that. But as much as I love strategy, I also love the narrative of the egotist bullies being taken down. And then I say probably the other famous merge is not a merge at all. It's the famous non-merge at Thailand, where
Xi'an.
Yeah, poor Xi'an. The show puts the 2 tribes on the same beach and it's like, you guys are living here. And because this is the 5th season of Survivor, people are just like, oh, cool, we've merged. And they get to their challenge and then Jeff's like, I didn't say merge. And Xi'an, who had already flipped to the other side, is just like,
Womp womp.
Yeah, so that was a fun moment, but, not a merge and also not as great as the other moments we've discussed.
All right, so let's get back to this season, and what are your predictions for next week?
So I guess the first one is, how many eliminations do we think we're getting next week?
I guess it depends. If you assume that this is going to go predictably, then we get 2. If not, we're just getting 1.
Yeah, so I guess we'll have to kind of cover for that. But at the same time, leading up to this episode, we always gave 2 predictions. If Tribe A loses or Tribe B loses. Going forward, we're probably going to give two predictions of primary vote off and if that person wins immunity secondary. Unless, you're picking somebody like Sierra and it's like, oh, she's not going to win immunity. But I think we might get 2 eliminations next week. It's a fat tribe of 20, which is more episodes than they have. And they're doing Redemption Island again. I think they're committed to a 3-person Redemption Island so they can keep throwing that clue in the fire. And they don't want to take 3 weeks to load that tribe up. So I think We saw this in Redemption Island, where right after the big move to take out Matt Elrod, in another very memorable merge, I might add. That was fantastic, where, it was like
It really was.
both sides which way, and Andrea and Matt are there, and then Rob just goes to his tribe, it's gonna be Matt. And you just go, oh, that's so fantastic. The guy struggles the whole way, and, prays to his God and suffers like Job, and then, sorry buddy, you're just going right back there. And then, the next episode they just eliminate Marine Mike and the lawyer David, just to, let's move it along. We already know how this is going. So I think that might happen next week.
And who are your two in that situation?
Yeah, I think Vetus is next. I think there's a good reason why Tyson would be a target, but not yet. You still have some business to take care of. It's not time to flip on that alliance just yet. So Vetus is the biggest threat on the other side.
Yeah, I think Vetus is the obvious one. The other obvious one for me is Tina. I personally would take out Tina first, but I think it's going to be Vetus.
Yeah, so Tina's my backup. So if we see 2 eliminations next week, take care of business, Vetus and Tina. Or if Vetus wins immunity, because that he desperately needs to, which in another smug interview he was saying, I never want to be in a position where I desperately have to win immunity.
That's what we call foreshadowing in the business, Andy.
Yes. Classic foreshadowing. The producers are probably just nudging each other in the ribs like, you get that? I got it.
And then they were going back to making some sexist edits.
Yeah, you can make the argument that you go after Tina, because Tyson seems very focused on the threat posed by duos. Vetus is no longer a duo, Tina is. And here's the other thing. Did you see the preview for next week?
I did.
Yeah, and Tina's going off like, you just lost all these jury votes and blah, 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 blah. And I kind of wanted to talk about that for a few reasons. One, Tina's math isn't very good. She doesn't know that Monica has flipped, I guess, because she's like, you lost 5 jury votes. And it's like, well, for one, it's a maximum of 4. Based on this move. And, I don't think Aris and Vetus are going to hold it that personally against Tyson.
Likewise.
But, and this is the thought that just occurred to me this morning, this is the first time that Tina has ever been still in the game the night after a tribal council didn't go her way.
Yeah, in All-Stars, which was the only time she's ever been eliminated, it was the first vote.
Yeah, so she was gone. And then in Australia, it always went her way. First couple votes, she probably just didn't care. She might have even voted with them. But the breaking point was when Colby had a choice between Keith and that 7-foot tall Matthew guy, or 6'10" or whatever. And it seemed, so basically to stay with the young people of Jerry, Amber, and Matthew, or go with the older crowd. And he went with the older crowd. And Tina was kind of a little smug after that point. At least if you ask Jerry. And yeah, every vote after that was the vote that she wanted to go. So this is the first time she's had to deal with this adversity. And, from a, 7-second clip in a preview, it looks like she's not going to deal with it very well. So maybe you just take that person out because you don't want to deal with their garbage.
2 straight weeks of foot in the mouth for Tina. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I guess, she just isn't the amazing player we thought she was. Unless, of course, she turns it around, in which case, Hall of Famer.
Yeah, she's not turning it around.
All right, so kind of the same deal. You think it's Vetus and Tina?
Yeah, again, I would probably flip the order personally, but I don't think they do. I think Vetus is the next to go.
So that's our episode for this week. If I finish up quickly, we'll be under an hour. Join us next week where we just might have a guest. And hopefully we'll be talking about another exciting episode of Survivor, but, it's possible we'll just be complaining about Redemption Island again.
Yeah, I had teased last week that we were going to have a very special surprise this episode and said it wouldn't be MRAT Fink. It was MRAT Fink because the very special surprise will be in next week's episode. So, oops.
But until then, you can follow us on Twitter. We do tweet every once in a while, and survivors love us. We're the favorite of Tyson, apparently.
So many favorited tweets.
So, Purple Rock Pod at Purple Rock Pod is how it is. You can email the show at purplerockpodcast@gmail.com with any questions you may have.
If you want to reach us via voicemail, as MRAT Fink did, you can send us some voicemail via Skype. Find me at JR Purple Rock and call me. I left it open for anybody to leave me a voicemail.
And one final housekeeping note is we are going to be changing hosts for the show, so hopefully you found us and you're listening to this. And basically we just don't want to pay for this stuff, so that's why we may have moved around, but hopefully everything goes smoothly. You'll find us posting on the same spots, and we've alerted you, and iTunes will have found us. But this is another good reason why you should follow us in all those formats, including Tumblr at purplerockpodcast@tumblr.com. So until next week, I am still Andy, he is still John, and we still watch far too much Survivor.
Have a good one.